two California gray whales. Their rescue captured the imagination and attention of the entire world, not just because of what was done, but how it was done, by Americans and Soviets working together. Impressive indeed, but not the only example of U.S.-Soviet cooperation. Take the Soviet-American Peace Walk, fall 1988. 220 Soviets, 220 Americans, walking across the Ukraine 375 kilometers from Odessa to Kiev.
Back in the U.S., back in the U.S., back in the USSR.
30 days, same routine. Up early, rise and shine, roll up the tents, throw the luggage in the trucks, hit the road. Meet the locals, eat the food. Meet the locals, eat the food. Meet the locals, eat the food. Set up camp, then get ready to do it all over again the next day. Who in the world would ever volunteer for such a grind?
Bo Gatch, Santa Barbara, California, a retired school teacher, and we're here because we wanted to come and see with our own eyes and hear with our own ears exactly what was happening in Russia with Glasnost and Perestroika.
My name is Virginia Barton Brownback. I live in Inverness, California, and I'm here because I thought it was time to stop guessing about the Russians and see what was going on here.
I'm Pat Harrison. I'm from Van Nuys, California, and I'm on the Peace Walk because we went on the last Peace Walk and got addicted to peace walking.
But there weren't just Americans. There were Soviet walkers from every one of the 15 Soviet republics.
My name is Kiselov Alexei. I'm from Leningrad.
So my name is Zazan Ishnianidze. I come from Georgia.
Albert Aminov, and I go from Tajikistan in city Dushanbe. My work is geology.
My name is Turzbek, and I came from Kyrgyzstan, situated in Central Asia. And I came here to work for peace together with American people.
My name is Anya. I'm from Moscow.
Why are you interested in the Peace Walk?
Because it's fun.
It wasn't all fun. In afternoon discussion groups, Soviets and Americans got into some pretty heavy issues, and Soviets learned how outspoken Americans can be.
It's no secret to anybody, any American or anybody from the West who walks down a street in the Soviet Union, that you are a first-rate power in military only.
For their part, Americans learned about revolutionary changes now underway in the Soviet Union, like the country's first environmental organization called Ecology, born literally just downwind from Chernobyl.
To some extent, the foundation of our organization was a result of that tragedy. One of the tactics of our organization is the battle against more nuclear power stations in the Ukraine.
And what about cooperation between the United States and the Soviet Union?
It's not only a possibility, but a necessity, because there are some problems that cannot be resolved by one country alone. One is the problem of ozone in the world oceans. I also think that space can be used for the solving of ecological problems and should not be used as a battleground, but as a scientific laboratory.
Moscow Nights. If we heard it once, we heard it 1,000 times, as the entire population of towns and villages turned out to welcome Americans. Hard to believe we were in the middle of the evil empire.
To ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire, to simply call the arms race a giant misunderstanding, and thereby remove yourself from the struggle between right and wrong and good and evil.
Evil empire, a term President Reagan now says no longer applies to the Soviet Union. Evil empire, a term that certainly did not apply to the people we met walking across the Ukraine. You'll never find a warmer, more generous, or happier people anywhere. You don't even have to speak the language. Their faces and their music give it away. The Ukrainian Republic between Moscow and the Black Sea is the bread and vegetable basket of the Soviet Union. A land of vast cultivated fields, quiet lakes, neatly stacked mounds of hay, and brightly colored cottages, some still with thatched roofs, much nicer homes than the matchbox apartments of most city dwellers. People of the Ukraine live close to the land, taking care of their own garden or working on one of the huge cooperatives. Close your eyes, then reopen them. You'd swear you'd suddenly been transported back to American farms around the turn of the century.
Ну, в принципе, да, для семьи из 4 человек оно маловато. Это 18 квадратов.
Yes, the flat we live now in is small, not enough for a family of 4.
Talk to a young Soviet family, like a young American family, their main concern is housing. It's just harder for them than it is for us. Is it hard to get a new apartment?
Трудно получить новую квартиру.
Как кому? 8 лет ждем.
We've been waiting for 8 years.
Meet another typical family. Victor manages a cooperative dairy farm. Maria is the business manager. Each of them earns what seems to be the universal Soviet salary, 200 rubles a month, $340 each. With it, Victor and Maria are building a new house. A tough life. They wouldn't trade it for any place else.
Maria, what I would like to know is if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you like to live?
Только в Советском Союзе, только на Украине. Only in the Soviet Union, only in Ukraine.
Why?
Почему? Потому что здесь лучше во всем мире. Well, I just think it's just the best place in the world.
Of course, not everybody agrees. But wherever we walked in the Ukraine, we discovered most people had 3 things in common. One, an enthusiasm for the new economic policies called perestroika.
Мою, да. У нас сейчас новая тарификация, новая...
For me, he's introduced new methods into the workplace, and my salary is increased.
2, strong admiration for Gorbachev.
Самый лучший в мире. Я еще такой политики никогда не...
He has the best policies in the world. I've never seen such policies.
Я не люблю, кто курит и пьет.
For me, Gorbachev is the same ideal person as Lenin.
And 3, a sincere desire for better relations between the Soviet Union and the United States.
А народы наши мирные хотят жить в мире. Никогда не воевать. А мы будем вместе с американцами.
I wish we would be as close friends as we were during the war, and our peoples are very peaceful in their nature, and somehow we are divided, but it's very bad. We should have been friends, and if United States and Soviet Union are friends, it means that there will be peace all over the world.
2 words Mikhail Gorbachev has taught the world, glasnost and perestroika. Are they for real? As we discovered, yes and no. Visitors to a harvest festival near Cherkasy had a surprise coming, a sudden taste of capitalism. The day before, American peace walkers picked tomatoes. The next day, what else? They took them to market.
These tomatoes were picked in the broiling sun by sweating capitalists. Come on, friends, don't be shy. We're only in town one day. Step right up. Tomatoes for peace. I don't believe I'm doing this.
Capitalism at a harvest fair in the Ukraine, a surprise? Changes are happening so fast in the Soviet Union today, nothing's a surprise. For so long, fearful of any contact with foreigners, Soviets now invite Americans into their homes. Most Russian churches are museums, but to my surprise, many of them are active and packed. Moscow's big department store, Goon, is crowded with shoppers. On Moscow's Arbat Street, the art may not be all that good, but it's pure private enterprise. And in an extraordinary test of glasnost, after a tense confrontation with Kremlin guards, Soviet-American peace walkers were permitted to protest a Soviet underground nuclear test in the middle of Red Square itself. What may be most striking about the Soviet Union, however, is not how far they've come, but how far they still have to go. There are long lines everywhere for everything, from fruits to ice cream to gas. The best stuff is in Berezovka stores, but only foreigners can shop there. In Leningrad, a city surrounded by water, you can't buy fresh fish, only frozen. Factory machinery is at least 30 years outdated. Stalin, murderer that he is, still enjoys a spot of honor along the Kremlin wall. Yes, some newspapers are more critical. You just can't buy them. You have to line up to read them. Paper shortage, they say. And notice, official portraits of Gorbachev airbrush out the prominent birthmark on his forehead. Even Glasnost only goes so far. So does freedom of religion only goes so far. Right after this patriarch insisted there was total separation of church and state in the Soviet Union, I asked,
and what churches are free to worship in the Soviet Union? Is it only the Russian Orthodox, or are there other churches?
And he admitted the state was still controlling religion, too.
Those religions which are approved by the government, by the state, these religions can be freely worshipped.
And despite all the changes, crowds still line up outside the American embassy in Moscow every day trying to get out of the country.
As I told you before, not everybody supports Perestroika.
Moscow's most popular political commentator blames delays in Perestroika on the bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy, for example, people who are used to a lazy work, they prefer small salary but quiet life.
Mm-hmm.
And they are against efficiency, against real competition. They prefer stagnation.
Still, Stuara believes Gorbachev and Perestroika will eventually succeed.
If it were just only Mr. Gorbachev, he would of course fail. The point is that Mr. Gorbachev has the support of the creative intelligentsia, of the mass media, of the progressive part of our society. He has a great support in the leadership of the Communist Party, and that's why I think his position is quite strong. He is not alone. He is a manifestation of this change, and he's a leader of this change, but he isn't alone.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, his task is tremendous.
One group of people Gorbachev has not helped. They're called refuseniks. Leningrad, the most beautiful city in the Soviet Union, one of the most magnificent cities in the entire world. Leningrad, seat of the Russian Revolution, a reputation as an open, tolerant European city. It is, except for Jews. Yes, Leningrad even has a synagogue where services are held every Sabbath. But not even the presence of a synagogue means much to 2,000 Jews in Leningrad who want to leave the country but can't.
For Jews, we have no future in this country.
Lev and Vera are a typical refusnik couple, waiting since 1979 for permission to emigrate. Their son lives in San Francisco, their daughter in New York. Lev and Vera remain stuck in Leningrad. A former acoustical engineer, Lev scoffs at the government's claim that he knows state secrets.
It seems to me our officials use our former classified job special for creation of institution of hostages. And my opinion, we are hostages.
Are you afraid to talk like this? Is this going to hurt your cause or help your cause to give an interview like this on American television?
I am not afraid anything, because I burned all of my bridges when I applied in 1979. I never wanted to change government in this country. I am not a dissident. I am only Jew who wants to join the relatives in abroad. And I'd like to be Jew, and I'd like to be free man.
Once in a while, there's good news. With Lev and Vera, I attended a farewell party for Elena, who had just received permission to leave the country after waiting 13 years. But it was a bittersweet evening. In one room, refuseniks celebrated. In another, one by one, refuseniks told me their sad and similar stories.
My husband and me, we applied for the first time in 1976.
How long have you been waiting?
Well, unfortunately, I hold a very dubious honor to be one of the oldest. We have been waiting for 14.5 years.
For Ilya and other refuseniks, Gorbachev has made little difference.
For me, the only difference I feel that I now have an opportunity to read much more interesting things. But, you know, I was a refusenik under Brezhnev years, and I am a refusenik under Gorbachev.
I think that you are very naive. You are very, not you just personally, but the people in the West, they are very naive. They believe that in the frame of our system, it is possible to change something. I can't believe in such things.
Like 30,000 Soviet refuseniks, Elena has one dream.
All my life here, I feel here as a stranger. And I don't know how the person feel at home. But I dream to feel what does it mean. And I'm sure that just in Israel, I'll understand what does it mean to live at homeland. And because of this, it is my dream to go there.
The Soviet Union is so vast, such a fascinating mix of old and new. In 1 month, you can barely scratch the surface. But 1 month is more than enough to observe the sweeping changes now underway throughout the Soviet Union. Changes that have already led to one arms control agreement with the United States and the strong desire for another.
We are very serious, deadly serious about getting rid of nuclear weapons, or at least for the foreseeable future, cutting very substantially nuclear arsenals of all nuclear powers.
Walter Rogers, ABC's longtime Moscow bureau chief, questions that commitment.
Without nuclear weapons, the Soviet Union would have no claim to being a superpower. It is, to me, folly to suggest that the Soviet Union really wants to get rid of nuclear weapons, because without nuclear weapons, you've been here a month. You can see this is largely an underdeveloped third world country.
To which Kokoshin replies,
my answer would be, let's try.
And Kokoshin outlines the practical and philosophical motivation behind Gorbachev's apparent compulsion to end the arms race.
What is against the interests of the international community is an attempt to force us to continue the arms race, to continue its in outer space and so on the basis that the United States and its allies have stronger economies than the Soviet Union and their allies. That's, I would say, wrong from the economic point of view, from the political military point of view, because it could lead at some point to very dangerous confrontation. And don't forget about morale and ethics. That's, I think, immoral.
Kremlin leaders aren't the only ones anxious for better relations with the United States. The Soviet people are. It was the one overwhelming impression after 1 month inside the Soviet Union. The Soviet people want peace every bit as much as the American people do. The desire for mir I druzhba, peace and friendship with the United States, was on the lips of everybody we met.
Так жалко.
Because I have children, I have grandchildren, and it will be a great sorrow if we have a war. All peoples want to live in peace and friendship, not only us and Americans, but also peoples in Africa and anywhere else.
Where people are all the same all over the world. You are and we are. No one wants war. We don't need the war. That's we need peace.
I want to say hello to the mothers of America and wish them peace. First of all, so that their children can have a peaceful childhood. I think it's important for both countries to realize that we have common ideas, which mothers share especially.
What for?